Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Bowtie Baptist Podcast. I'm your host this week, Jody, and I'm flying solo this week. JT and I have been struggling to get our schedules to line up where we can meet up and get together to record some new content, but we are looking at changing that this weekend, finally going to get together, sit down, and record a new episode for next week. But we've really wanted to get some content out for you guys, even though we know it's been about a month since our last episode dropped. And this week is not going to be me just talking to you. We're actually going to share the presentation from our community Easter egg hunt this past weekend in us sharing the Easter story with the children. And I will let you know that I may be making reference in some portions of this presentation to objects that I am displaying. I apologize, this is an audio-only episode, but I did have props that I utilized during this presentation with the kids. And if you have any questions about how to make props, how to come up with props, if you decide to do something comparable with children at your church or your family or your community, let me know and I'll let you know what I used. I will say that a couple of the things were made. One was the crown of thorns, and to make that, my parents actually several years ago cut branches off of a plum tree, a native plum tree, because they have massive spikes on them, and then wove that together into a crown. And as far as when I'm talking about Judas and his betrayal for 30 pieces of silver, I didn't have I did have coins, but I didn't show the coins to the children. I just took a piece of fabric that was about the size of a handkerchief, dumped some loose change that we had in that, and then tied it shut with a string and just jingled it in front of them. But again, hopefully you can take this presentation to give you an idea of how you can present the Easter story to children at your church or in your community or even in your family this weekend. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and I can let you know again what I used for props, and if you need any ideas for props, I would be more than happy to try and help you out as best I can. But JT is going to have some very exciting news that we're going to let him fill in the details on in maybe next episode, maybe a couple episodes down the road. But part of why we've not been able to get together, aside from just general work, family, and life as it is JT's actually been preparing to give his first ever sermon, which he plans to give at our church, which is at Bellview Baptist Church in Lawrence, South Carolina, on April the 27th in the evening service at 6 p.m. So if you live in the area and you'd like to come and support JT, then I would definitely encourage you to do so. I'm not going to give any spoilers about what the topic is, even though I am honored in that he has shared that topic with me and some of his outline already. But it will be an experience. It will be very informative, and from what he's already told me, it's going to be exceptional and just all around exceptional. And maybe in a future episode, we'll get him to talk about how he prepped for it and what he learned from prepping for this first sermon, and then maybe even going into some of the things that he didn't think he would have time to cover in the time slot that he would have there on the 27th. But outside of that, if you have any questions for me, you can email me at jody@bowtiebaptist.com. If you'd like to reach out to JT, maybe send him a word of encouragement as he preps for the sermon, let him know. You can email him at jt@bowtiebaptist.com. And remember, the Baptist is plural with an S on the end. And I hope you guys enjoy the show and are able to utilize the information in it in your walk and possibly in how you share the gospel and the Easter story with children, as Easter is quickly approaching in just a few days. As always, we appreciate your support, and that's as simple as prayers for JT and myself, prayers for the show, and just liking the show, subscribing to the show, and then sharing with your friends that might also be interested in the content that we're providing. Until next week, I hope you enjoy this episode, and I'll be looking forward to having JT on with me next episode and talking to you guys then. Why do we have Easter? Easter is all about Jesus, right? Okay. But did you know that the Easter story starts about a week before Jesus actually died on the cross? So it does. The week before Jesus died for us, He came to Jerusalem. And all the people that were there knew that He was coming. They were excited. And what they did is they were so excited. The older kids, y'all know what a red carpet is, right? It's for real important people to walk on, so they don't have to walk on the ground. Well, they didn't have red carpets back then. So what the people did, they took their coats off. And they laid it on the floor, on the ground, for the donkey that Jesus was riding on to walk across. Some of them didn't have coats. So what they did was they'd go to a tree and they'd cut branches out. They cut palm branches out and they'd lay it on the ground in front of him. That's why we call the week before Easter Palm Sunday. It's because they put palm branches on the ground. Well, Jesus gets to Jerusalem, and He's there for about a week, and then it comes time for a special meal. Him and all of His apostles, disciples were with Him, and they had this special meal. And some of y'all might have heard of it, because we still do it. Jesus told us to have what we call the Lord's Supper. That's what He had. He had a cup, and the drink that they had, we still drink grape juice to remind us of the blood that Jesus shed. And then we eat the bread, and that reminds us about Him dying on the cross. Well, at this supper, Jesus told everybody that was with Him, He basically told them, hey guys, I'm going to die really, really soon for you. But they didn't realize it. They didn't understand that. But one of those guys that was with Him turned against Him. He was really greedy, which means he really loved money more than anything, even more than Jesus. And he went to the people that didn't like Jesus. And he said, what will y'all give me if I tell y'all where to find Jesus? Because I know y'all want to punish Him. How much will you give me? What do I get out of it? Well, they said, we'll give you 30 pieces of silver. So, okay, I'll take that. So, this guy's name was Judas, and they gave Judas 30 pieces of silver. Now, he took it, and after they had finished the supper, Judas went and got his money. Jesus took the other 11 with Him to a place where you find flowers. Where do you find flowers? What's it called? Just a garden. He went to a garden to pray. While he was in this garden, he prayed, and he was talking to God, and he asked Him, hey, if there's any way possible that I don't have to die for everybody else that will ever live, please don't make me die. But he knew that he had to. And once he finished praying, here comes Judas with the guys that didn't like Jesus. Judas walked up to Jesus and he kissed him on the cheek. That's how they knew who was Jesus. Well, one of Jesus' friends didn't want to let them take Him. And he attacked them. And he hurt one of them really bad. But Jesus said, no, we're not going to do that. I have to go. And he touched the guy where he had been hurt, and he completely healed it. Even though he knew that this guy was coming to take him away to die. Well, they got him and they took him. And he went to the guy that was in charge of the whole area. All right? And he said, well, I don't think he did anything wrong. Why do y'all want him killed? They didn't give him good reason, but they said, no, we want him to die. And he said, okay, that's fine. If that's what y'all want, y'all can take him. But I don't agree with it. But y'all do what you're going to do. So right before they crucified him, they made fun of him. The soldiers made fun of him. And because he was called the King of the Jews, they made a crown for him out of thorns, really sharp thorns. And what they did was they took that crown and they put it on his head and they shoved it down on his head to hurt him. And then they beat him and they hurt him real bad, made him bleed. Then they made him get up and he had to carry his own cross. Did y'all know that? He didn't just go to where it was already set up. He actually had to carry it. Well, he couldn't do that. So they pulled somebody off the side of the road and they made him carry it for Jesus and made Jesus walk with him. Well, once they got there, they put him on the cross. There are 3 crosses because there were 2 other guys that were killed the same time as Jesus. Well, one of them started making fun of Jesus. And as soon as that happened, the guy on the other side said, why are you making fun of him? No, just stop. We should be punished for what we did. He hasn't done anything. And Jesus told that second one, he said, you'll be with me in heaven today. Okay? So then Jesus died on the cross, and somebody that didn't agree with what the other people had decided about punishing Jesus, he said, can I take Jesus and put him in my tomb? They said, yeah. So he came, took him off the cross, carried him over to his tomb, and put him in it. But because the guys that didn't like Jesus, they knew what people had said hundreds of years before, that the Messiah, which was Jesus, was going to die and then he was going to come back to life. He was going to rise from the dead. So what they did was they took a big rock and they put it in front of the tomb so that nobody could get in. And then they put soldiers at the tomb to make sure that nobody came and stole Jesus' body, to make it look like he had really come to life. Well, 3 days later, they came to the tomb. Some of Jesus' friends came to the tomb because what they did was they would do something to a dead person, somebody who had died a few days later, to take care of them. Well, they came, and the stone in front was completely gone. It was rolled out of the way. And they couldn't find the soldiers that were supposed to be guarding the tomb, and then they couldn't find Jesus' body. It wasn't in there. But there were angels in there. And they asked him, said, why are you here? He's not here. He's risen. So that's what's important that we have to remember is, who did Jesus die for? Us. Everybody in this room, everybody who has lived before us, everybody who's living now who's not here, and everybody who hasn't been born yet. He died for all of us. But that wouldn't matter if he hadn't have come back to life. He's the only person that can beat death. But if we ask him to save us, then he'll let us come live in heaven with him later. It could be soon, it could be a long time. But it's real easy. Jesus has already offered that gift to us. It's kind of like a Christmas present. If I give you a present, it's up to you to open it. You don't have to open it, but you really want what's in it, don't you? If it's for you. So it's up to us to accept that gift.